In Inquo, Dove is a gender-shifting warrior. Shape-shifting is a theme in many Indigenous teachings. What does Dove's transformation mean in relation to identity, sovereignty, and survival?
I think the two-spirited and the gender fluid are everybody's teachers. And so that was part of the medicine that I used to craft Dove. How blessed are we when characters show up and they start, I want to dance, I want to shine, I want to tell my truth. Yeah, Dove is a gift. Awesome. For the world.
In a lot of Indigenous nations, we're quite embracive of the diversity and spectrum of gender. And we put a call out because we wanted to base Dove, the puppet, off of a real person, because that's important to us. And we had 67 Indigenous people who wrote to explain why they connected with Dove. So that echoed to me how important this character is.
Through that process, we worked with Shawan Kiana, who became the visual representation. We also worked with Donné, language speaker, knowledge keeper, designer, Georgina Frankie, who guided our process and really helped inform our costume design for our characters as well as language on the film. So it's just a really long, special process to get to what ends up being the sort of physical puppets.
Standing figure in North Carolina who have worked on all sorts of big feature film projects like Del Toro's Pinocchio. They made these puppets and did a phenomenal job. And one thing that I would like to mention from Patrick Zung, who's sort of the mastermind behind these, is he said this project allowed him to make his dream puppet, which was Dove. And he works so closely with our elders and our art director, Maya McKibben, to really honor every detail, the sort of cultural integrity.
Obviously something that stood out to me right away was like, there's like a queer character in the center of this film fighting against this personified figure of colonialism. Like, it just feels rounded and it feels good to be working on that story.
Paulina Alexis from Reservation Dogs is Dove.
Yes.
And we had Art Napoleon as the frog.
One of the main things about this story that makes it so powerful is the character Dove. It's quite a journey to go from the idea to visual reference or visual inspiration to what becomes the physical form, to the capture of it, and then eventually the final piece. Stop motion in general, it's like a blank canvas when you start. It's such a massive puzzle and every piece matters for that final thing to actually complete the puzzle. That's sort of always my goal, is like honoring stop motion first and foremost, and that I want the world to feel seamless, like the world we build. The process is constantly weaving in and out of digital technology and handmade practical material. You know, we had a lot of additional support and access through this being a co-production with the National Film Board. We had such an amazing team, both on the physical fabrication side and our post side, that worked really well together. We'd 3D scan sets. We'd have to capture all the camera information of what we would do practically to try to match the lenses, cameras, everything digitally. And then we would photograph or scan all the physical assets like trees, lily pads, everything, to recreate those in the computer, but with that same textural information, so that the goal is the digital assets, or like the digital extension, feels like the physical world.
I knew we were sitting on a gold mine when Maya had all the storyboards up on the walls. And I remember I walked in and I hadn't even taken off my jacket, and I was like, oh my God. Like, this is it. This is the movie. This is the movie. There are colors in Inquo for When the Starving Return that aren't on planet Earth. I'm in awe of all of the effects, whether it's the puppets or the water or the dragonfly or the wind combing her fingers through fur. I'm the biggest fan of this movie. Stories remind us about what it means to be human together. And I think that one of the quickest ways to learn about a culture is through art. There is a sorrow, there is a grace, And there's a beauty to Amanda Strong's work in every single one of her movies. It's our time now to tell our stories our way. I want to talk a little bit about the creatures and the creature design. So growing up in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, Treaty 8 country, I was born and raised in Fort Smith. We grew up with stories about the Wheetago. And the Wheetago are beings of incredible power. They have their own medicine. And they are cursed. They're cursed beings because the more they eat, the hungrier they become. The more they drink, the thirstier they become. So I grew up hearing Wheetago stories. I grew up reading Wheetago stories. I am terrified of the Wheetago. I grew up hearing that the first weapon of the Wheetago is their shout, because when they scream, they can freeze a whole village. And I was told by Earl Evans that the Wheetago don't run into a camp to eat, they walk. And they're carrying two things, a hatchet and a bucket. So that's just a taste of how wicked and brutal they really are. And they have 26 different names at least. So when I first saw the Wheetago in the movie, Incon, for When the Starving Return, through puppetry, they were far more terrifying than I could have ever imagined. I am so terrified of what Amanda and her team created because they're far more terrifying than anything I could have ever written. And that is the ultimate compliment.